Even as Kenyans prepare for the presidential elections, even as there's already so much drama over the presidential race, in the middle of all this chaos, news comes through that a lawyer called Paul Gicheru, who is currently in court at the International Criminal Courts at The Hague, has made a deal with the prosecution. And what this deal means is that Bwana Gicheru will not contest certain charges preferred against him by the ICC. He will plead guilty to all of them. He will not contest them. And what it also means is that Bwana Paul Gicheru ataropokwa. He will spill the beans. He will sing like a bird. He will tell the court everything. In these plea bargain deals, there's usually a clause. If you withhold information, if you refuse to give us this and that and that, the deal is null and void. So he's going to ropokwa everything about what actually happened after the 2008 troubles. Who gave him the money to bribe witnesses so as to stop them from testifying against Deputy President William Ruto? Now, what does all this mean? What does it mean for the presidential race? Barely 2 months away. Will Atwoli's prophecy come true? Remember what Francis Atwoli told us? So and so will not be on the ballot. He has repeatedly told us so. So does this mean that Atwoli's prophecy will finally come to pass? Stay with me and find the surprising answer to that particular question and a lot of other details linked with this latest development that has shocked Kenyans so much that many have frozen on their tracks. And that is no exaggeration. Karibu sana and enjoy. Ever since Kenyan lawyer Paul Gicheru gave himself up at The Hague to the International Criminal Courts, there's been a lot of predictions and speculation as to what his real motive was. Many people told us it was the conscience of Bwana Gicheru eating away at him, and he felt he had to do the right thing. Instead of hiding, instead of escaping the arrest warrant by the International Criminal Courts, he decided to give himself up. Because his conscience was eating away at him. That's the explanation many people swallowed. But most of us know lawyers. And therefore the most logical explanation was that Bwana Gicheru was up to something. And what political analyst Professor Mutahi Ngugi told Kenyans seemed to make the most logic. What he said made sense. And he told us very early on that what was going to happen is that Paul Gicheru was going to the ICC to do a plea bargain with the prosecution. Now, this is something which is a bit new to Kenyans. What a plea bargain means, in very few words, is that you agree that you committed a certain crime, and you agree to take a lesser punishment, or even be set free. But in return, you give the prosecution evidence to nail another suspect. That's really what it is. Now, for avoidance of doubt, Bwana Gicheru's case was linked to the case of Deputy President William Ruto. And the full attention of many Kenyans was directed to The Hague, expecting this drama to unfold. Nothing happened. All we saw was Bwana Gicheru pleading innocence. Kenyans got very confused. Kenyans gave up. Well, the latest is that it appears that Bwana Paul Gicheru has gone into a plea bargain deal with the ICC prosecutors. Now, it is important that we understand something about how plea bargain deals are made, so that we are clear, so that we are able to explain why it has taken so long for Bwana Gicheru's intentions to become clear. You're in court, accused of a certain crime. You don't just walk to the prosecution and tell them, I want a plea bargain deal. No, it doesn't work like that. First of all, you have to convince the prosecution, because a plea bargain deal is supposed to benefit both sides, and especially the prosecution. So you have to convince the prosecution that you have the kind of information, the kind of evidence they can never get anywhere else. Okay? What you have is valuable. In other words, you show them what you have. And if they salivate, then chances are you'll get a plea bargain. Actually, the smartest way to get the best deal is to go on trial. Then as the trial proceeds, because you have pleaded innocent, and you're presenting evidence to counter the evidence they have, as the trial proceeds, the prosecutors will notice that the case is very weak against you. Or even if they still have a case, they will gauge that this is a 50-50 situation. We could win or we could lose, something prosecutors hate. Every prosecutor wants a situation where they're definitely winning. Hii mambo ya 50-50. And so when the prosecution realizes that this is not a very easy case for them to win, you send your lawyer to them and you tell them, I have 1, 2, 3. Are you interested? Then the prosecution team gets back to you and says, okay, can you tell us more? And you tell them more. And then they tell you, we'll get back to you. Now all this takes time. And then finally at some point, you'll be on the negotiation table. The prosecution will say, you will go to prison for 1 year instead of the 20 years you'd have gotten. If you're agreeable to that, then we have a deal. And then you say, no, I don't want to serve any prison time. And then you put something new on the table. I have this further evidence I'd not given you. This is on so and so. Here it is. And then the prosecution looks at it and they say, we'll get back to you. I think you get the gist. Instructions have to come from above. People have to be consulted. People have to meet and agree. Yeah, they have to gauge and weigh the pros and cons of doing a plea bargain. And then finally, if you've played your cards correctly, they will say, yes, we have a deal, but you must serve 6 months. And then you say, yes, let's do this. And then you sign the plea bargain. Now, this is very important to note. At that point when a prosecution team signs a plea bargain deal, they are very sure, I need to repeat that, they are very sure that this evidence you're giving them, this evidence you'll give the court is so solid that they're going to get a prosecution. Others, if they're not sure, they will not do the plea bargain. They won't. So I think we now better understand why all this took such a long time to be finalized. So what does all this mean? For starters, it means that lawyer Paul Gicheru is going to reveal to the court who gave him the money to bribe witnesses not to give evidence at the ICC. And of course, Bwana Gicheru's actions led to the prosecution against Deputy President William Ruto failing. It just crashed and burned. And William Ruto is a free man. Although the court was very clear that the issue has not ended. But there's something else. And this one is going to send shockwaves all over the place. Let me put it like this. There is no way somebody can go into the trouble of bribing a witness, offering them 5 million Kenya shillings, 2 million Kenya shillings, etc., to recant their evidence. There is no way somebody can do that unless what that witness is going to say, the evidence being presented by that witness, is 100% absolutely true. Correct, true evidence. In other words, this latest development at the ICC will take us back to the evils committed against Kenyans by Kenyans in 2008. And I can assure you, yale mambo wa Kenya walifanywa hautaki kujua. It was really a dark chapter of our history. I mean, the things people can do to get power, political power, the things politicians can get up to, the distance they can travel in order to get political power is just mind-boggling. And you see, we're talking about ordinary Kenyans. Kenyans like you and I, going through such a harrowing experience that if by good luck they survive, their lives are never the same again. The lives of their loved ones are never the same again. So, Paul Gicheru's actions, leading to the evidence he will give the court, saying so and so sent me to bribe this witness, who was going to say this and that and that and that. Bottom line, this is much more than just Gicheru telling the court who gave him the money, who gave him the instructions. There are too many of us Kenyans who in 2008 were too young. Some were not even born. And therefore when you tell them about clashes, they don't fully understand what happened. And you know, the whole thing was made worse because there was a gag order. Yeah, after it all happened, nobody was allowed to analyze it. Nobody was allowed to go into details of what really happened. Although we can guess how crazy it was. There are journalists who gave up the profession. Yeah, you go into the middle of those clashes, you take photographs of what is happening, or you report on what is happening, and it affects you so much that you have to seek help from a clinical psychologist, yeah, so that you can be able to go through that trauma and continue their life. That's how serious it was. Now, fortunately, we have a lot of details concerning what happened. In my classic ebook, Let the Blood Flow, the offer is still on. I believe you can see details on your screens right now. And I know a lot of people are getting impatient. They're asking, when will you release the video version? Yeah, the video version of the ebook. Actually, I am finalizing on that. Yeah, and based on the work involved, and the time, etc., etc., it means that when I release those videos, the cost of getting these videos, yeah, the video version of the ebook, are going to be a little on the high side. Understandably so. Yeah, so one very good way of getting around this is to take the special offer of the ebook now, which will guarantee that when the videos are released, you will receive them. Yeah, you don't have to worry about the cost being too high. Because this is a very important chapter of the history of our country. Indeed, those of us who are spiritual are aware of the fact that the judgment for the sins of Kenya, for the evils committed by Kenyans, is upon us. Yeah. You know, any judgment is given according to the crime. Somebody who is found guilty of a burglary, you broke into people's houses when they were not in, will not be given the same judgment as somebody who murdered. And that person who murdered one person will not be given the same judgment as somebody who murdered many Kenyans, innocent Kenyans, in cold blood. And we know that the judgment of a man is not perfect. It can even be corrupted. But the judgment of Almighty God will always be just. And for it to be just, it must fit the crime. Yeah. Those who can understand, they should understand. What I'm saying is that that judgment will be terrible. Because the crimes committed against Kenyans in 2008 alone, let alone all those other major crimes, in 2008 alone, the judgment has to be terrible. Because the things that happened to Kenyans were more than terrible. Yeah. Now, what does this mean for August 9th, 2022? Now, based on the information I have, and based on my opinion, I don't think anything major will happen before August 9th. Because there are few steps to be taken. Yeah. A case has to be filed. And the judges at The Hague have to be convinced that somebody has a case to answer. And then after that, an arrest warrant has to be issued and processed. And I also think that it is logical, it is prudent for whoever wants to execute this to wait until after the general elections in Kenya. Yeah, that makes sense. And so we have to consider the possibility of having the next president of Kenya do what Uhuru Kenyatta did very early in his administration. Yeah. Leave the country to go and appear in court for their case at The Hague. And the right thing to do in such circumstances is to hand over the presidency temporarily to the Deputy President. Now in this case, President William Ruto, assuming he wins the August 9th general elections, President William Ruto will have to hand over the country temporarily to a man called Rigathi Gachagua. Yeah. You know, the crazy thing here is that there are a lot of UDA supporters who have the same view as Azimio supporters on the subject of Rigathi Gachagua. Oh yes, there are many within UDA who have said the decision by the Deputy President on his running mate was a very wrong decision. They have even gone as far as saying that decision will finish Kenya Kwanza. Oh yes, these are not Azimio people talking. UDA Damu people talking. What that means politically is that when this news breaks out to the mainstream media, it'll definitely come up in the campaigns. Kenyans will be asked, there is a case, so let this presidential candidate win. Think about it, think ahead. He will have to hand over power to Rigathi Gachagua. And if the prosecution is successful this time round, it means that Rigathi Gachagua will have to serve the rest of the term as President of the Republic of Kenya. Think about that. Trust me, even UDA Damu supporters don't want to think about that. Imagine that. You know, there are thugs that even other thugs fear them. Yeah, they're all in the same trade. They terrorize people, they steal from people, they rob people. Yeah, but when you come to them and you mention a certain name, they're scared. No, wachana na huyo jamaa. Mambo hiyo jamaa hatutaki. Guys, this seems to be the case here. Yeah. Even the bad boys are terrified of Rigathi Gachagua. And you can be sure they're not scared of Bwana Gachagua for nothing. They must have a reason. Humans don't do things for nothing, for no reason. Until next time, this is Kshs. Kumekucha.